Hey, check 1, 2. Okay, here we go. Here's Monarch. This is my original instrumental song. I actually started composing this thing 9 years ago and recorded a lot of the parts back then. The drums, some of the percussion layers, and extra little things in this outro solo were done just in the last few weeks here, but this one sat on the back burner for a long time. The synth was a new addition as well, and the choirs, all that kind of stuff. But guitar, bass, and pianos were done 9 years ago, and those didn't change at all. So anyway, the point of this one was just to experiment. I wanted to test some tones. I wanted to test some like playing styles and see if I could combine certain styles and feels of music to be in one kind of flowing song. So that's where I ended up with this one. And let's check out some of these sounds. Let's go over the things individually, and then I'll pick that big kind of heavy section towards the end, and we'll build it up from the drums, adding an element in, as you know I like to do. So here's the drums going from the shuffle section into the straight. There's that, and then we get this little groove section here later. That was drums. Let's check out percussion. One of my favorite things in the percussion here is the play between this regular kind of shaker groove, and then I've got some weird modulating clap rhythm things. So here's this. And then we've obviously got lots more explosions and stuff leading into the start of the percussion. We've got a few things here. Later in the song, we've got some heavier hits and this little glitchy thing. That's more damage there. You know, I love the exploding cars. And then at the end here, we've got like a big drum roll hit thing leading into that epic outro guitar solo. Here's the bass. I've got two basses. One is a PV that I actually don't have anymore, and then the other one is my Ibanez, which I still have. So the PV is doing the more kind of jazzy stuff. Main thing to consider on the bass is this tapping thing that goes through. This is kind of the most unique part about it. And then let's check out some slap. Who doesn't love a little bit of slap? And that is where the other bass takes over. So here's my Ibanez now, and we switch into playing from fingers to, we go to a pick now. Aggressive tone. From there, we move into the heavy rhythms, which I believe are my Epiphone Prophecy EM2. Badass blue guitar, I'll show it here. Those heavy rhythms sound like this in the main section. Crazy. Now, something worth noting is that I am using so these are Amplitube things. So I've got a 5150 on the left side, a little bit of Tube Screamer. This is all just amp sim. What's going on my left rhythm guitar, and then the right side is this Angle, same cab, same mic. I haven't used this much recently, but this is something I used when I originally wrote these parts like 9 years ago. So I just kept it on here and tweaked the settings a little bit. So two different amps, same guitar, but two different amps. Off the top, I introduced these, what I call the Cleanish Guitars. back here. Whoa. And then the piano part. The piano is pretty obvious in the song, but in case you missed it, here it is in the straight section, in the middle of the song. And then the heavy section is basically the opening, but played a lot more aggressively. There you go. And this is a stack of pianos. I've got easy keys. So here's the first main sound, on stage preset, little bit of tweaks. And then we've got piano verse, which piano verse sounds amazing. I love this thing. The Grand YF3 sounds great as a layer. And then I've got a little bit of this sneaking in there. A little bit of tack texture on there. Synths, there's lots of synth stuff here. Some weird kind of stuff at the start. Spooky. Here's a part that I think is cool. So that's just my Behringer Poly D that I'm playing there for all these just mono patches, aside from these pulsing things. That is Diva. I love Diva. And then I've got this lead sound here. So that kind of covers the main like choir melody that's going on at the moment there. And then the outro underneath the solo, I've got a real low. So that covers a lot of ground. When we get into the strings, there's 2 bits here. The pizzicato in the straight section sounds like this. And then we get into, this is under the heavy section that I didn't want to get rid of because it felt good, but it didn't really need to be very loud, but it sounds like this. A little bit of something for momentum. Now we have the vocals. So there's a few accents here that do at the start of the straight section. Super moody, little accent and things like this. Just to push into the next kind of groovy section. And then I have to play this because I was posting some teasers about this when I was working on this section, but this thing just came alive so well here. And then this outro pads. Pretty crazy. and then the guitar solo at the end here, which is a little bit of an amp sim, but then I've got a FET 47 and an SM57 panned out from each other on my, this Hughes & Kettner Deluxe 20 amp through a Trainer oversized 112. So the amp signals on their own sound like this. An amp sim, which I think is this Jet City 333, going through an orange cab, a little bit of tube screamer into it. I just played through this to actually record the solo, and then I reamped through the amp later once I was happy with the cut of the actual performance here. And that on its own sounds like this. Add my live amp in there to kind of help it out. Enough screwing around here. Let's go through and so here's a playthrough. Let's see if we can build the song up. And there you have it. Thank you for checking the song out. Go listen to it on all streaming platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, whatever, you know the drill. And I'll leave you with this outro solo choir section here.